I'm Taylor. I'm a teacher, and I know a lot of teachers. If you're watching this, you might be a teacher, or you might know a teacher. Teaching is incredibly important work, but it's also really hard work, and it's vulnerable work. Brené Brown's definition of vulnerable is a situation where you can't control the outcome. It's something that inherently involves risk or uncertainty or emotional exposure. And the thing about teaching is that every day is uncertain and every year is uncertain. And that is true for a lot of professions, but what is somewhat unique to teaching is that we are so close to the vulnerable experiences of so many other people. So we have children in our classrooms every day, and we know their lives. We know the hard things and the great things and the things that we can't do anything about. And we're exposed to the vulnerabilities of their parents who are trying their best, often in ways that sometimes confuse us, to raise their kids, and we see what's happening in their lives. And then we're also confronted with the vulnerabilities of our fellow teachers who are working just as hard as we are, just trying to make a difference. And it is really, really a lot. So one thing is that if we're not comfortable with vulnerability, is that we try to protect ourselves from it. And it's like carrying around an emotional shield, or wearing chainmail underwear, or wearing one of those big Spartacus helmets all the time. It might feel like it protects us, but it weighs us down, and it saps extra energy that we don't have left to give. So I started thinking about this, and I thought that teachers need some sort of protection from the vulnerabilities of teaching, but it can't be something that is more work for them, or it's harder for them, or it negatively impacts the rest of their lives. And I got the idea of emotional sunscreen. So the sun can be a potentially damaging thing, says the fair-skinned girl who's been burned more times than I can count. But if we put on sunscreen, it's a very lightweight, you can't even feel like you're wearing it, and then you're protected from something, and now it can bring you joy. Being out in the sun, at the beach, playing tennis, whatever you like to do. So my definition of emotional sunscreen is going to be small, lightweight things that you can think about, apply, try, that might help reduce the fatigue of teaching. It might be able to open you up to fully experience the joys of teaching and protect you from those lows better than, say, chainmail underwear. And I have thought about this in 3 categories: perspective, priorities, and practical. I think that often professional development or help for teachers covers maybe one of these things, but not all of them. So my idea for perspective is that our work can feel like a battle of good against evil, of enlightenment versus ignorance. We feel sometimes like we are the lone heroes in the world fighting against all the evil, and that everything we do has an impact on the fate of the universe. If you're not a teacher, you might be laughing, and you should because it's ridiculous, but that's really how we see it sometimes. What we know is that this is not really true, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves of that. Those kind of strategies are about keeping teaching in perspective, keeping it in proportion to the rest of your life. Priorities are about how to spend the resources that you are going to spend. Teaching is going to take energy. It's going to take emotional intelligence. It's going to take time. And sometimes, yes, you're going to have to buy the pencils at Meijer. So what is the best way to expend those resources so we're not just throwing our energy away and feeling like we're getting nothing back for it? And lastly, practical. If you're a teacher, you've probably had that moment where someone told you a small thing that made something else so much easier in your life or in your classroom. Those can be emotional sunscreen too, because as we work to become better, saner teachers, finding easier ways to do important things is important. So if this has intrigued you, I invite you to check out the rest of my website. If you're not on it right now, it's emotionalsunscreen.squarespace.com. I look forward to helping the teachers of the world hang in there.